Okay, and welcome to this brief overview of Task 2. I'm releasing this to you to see on Wednesday the 8th. Task 2 isn't due until Friday week, Friday the 17th, but because it mentions and deals with requirements, I think it's worthwhile just showing it to you. And because it's Easter weekend coming up, I want to start to release some other videos just talking about Task 2, because obviously we won't be having a class next Monday, so that hopefully if any of you are finished or have the majority of Task 1 done, and you have some spare time over the Easter weekend, you can have a little look at Task 2. And maybe look at some of the videos that I will put on Moodle between now and the weekend. And then next Tuesday we'll have a look together, hopefully, at Task 2 in more detail. I'll explain things a bit more, maybe give a bit of a presentation, and we can take it from there. Okay? So right now, let's just read this Task 2 together. It says, using the information gathered from Task 1, produce a detailed requirements specification document that reflects the client's needs, including the logical design, which must show data processes. In this document, ensure that you explain the issues that may arise with file conversion during system implementation, the impact and implications that any changes may have on the customer's requirements, and the importance of the role of systems integration within the systems development process, giving examples if necessary. And then the final bit is also include a description of all the documentation that will be provided to the client on completion of the systems implementation. Okay, so there's a couple of points here. We're producing a detailed requirement specification document, so I think it'll be worthwhile to restate all the requirements that you have highlighted in the first document. You can either copy and paste it in, or you can just restate them briefly. And as I was saying in a previous recording, in the first task, when you're stating the requirements, you're just stating what the requirement is, what the system is meant to do. In this document, you're able to go into a bit more technical detail. Maybe when you're stating the requirement, you can also state some of the ways that the requirement will be done. Okay. The example I gave previously was where in Task 1 you're stating that the requirement is to provide remote access for users. In Task 2, when you state that requirement, you can actually say how the remote access will be provided by the system, i.e., for example, through a web browser. Okay, and then some of the main things here, you have to include something to do with the logical design. You have some description of the logical design of the system. What we'll be doing here is I'll give a recording of a presentation on data flow diagrams, and if you can try to create a data flow diagram to try and give some kind of physical representation of the database structure. and how the data flows within the database. That would be one of the requirements. I would leave that maybe until after our class next Tuesday. If anyone was thinking of starting things, I wouldn't start off working on the logical design. Then there's 3 particular topics which they want you to talk about and discuss in some depth. One is that about issues that arise with file conversions. Another is the impact of change on customer requirements, so that if the customer makes changes to the requirements to what he wants, this has serious consequences. We'll go into that in some detail in another recording, and again on Tuesday. And then the third is systems integration. I very briefly mentioned this last Thursday, and mentioned the idea of coupling and cohesion. Again, I'll go into some detail about that next Tuesday and in a recording between now and then, so you can look at it at your leisure. The final bit here is just a description of all the documentation that will be provided at the end of the implementation phase. So this is just where you list all the documentation that you can think of, and have a paragraph or so on each particular document. So whether it's documentation covering data recovery procedures, if anything were to happen, maintenance documents maybe, test logs, some information from the testing, maybe a document on security. You just state what the document is and then you explain it. And as I say, there's about 5 or 6 reports which they'd be expecting you to mention. Okay, so I said this was going to be a short one, just a read through of the task, introduce to you what the task is, and see how it links to task 1, which obviously is your focus at the moment. Okay, so I'll be emailing you as the week goes on with links to other recordings, and then hopefully I'll be able to talk to you all next Tuesday. Hopefully we'll be able to do a class and we won't have any technical issues, and we'll be able to do a class at 10 o'clock next Tuesday. Okay, thanks guys, and as always, you know where to find me if you want to contact me, and good luck and stay safe during the week.